Hello, it is God of War, but it is on PC now. Now this game originally released on PS4 April 20th, 2018, and since then it is like lived a pretty long life. It has been updated for newer consoles, and it was just such a strong game that it never really felt like it slipped away or disappeared from gaming conversation or anything. And thankfully now more people than ever can enjoy it in a really good way. This PC port so far, at least on first impression for us here, seems pretty solid, and probably one of the better Sony ports. We have got a bunch of the high quality gameplay. For you here to see for yourself, it is a pretty beefy game. So if you want to run it at native 4K, you are gonna really need a big boy, obviously. And thankfully on the other end, like the minimum requirements and pretty responsible, so you know whatever resolution or frame rate. It seems like helpful a lot of different types of people with different builds will be able to experience this. We have been tweaking around with some settings, using some DLSS, and there are a good amount of options here for tweaking the graphics and the performance. As you can see on screen, it is broken down into display settings and graphics settings. You can change the resolution and frame caps. You know pretty much everything you need, or would expect here. It has ultra-wide support too, which is just beautiful. And then in graphics you can adjust shadows reflection, texture quality, all that stuff on the fly, which is nice. The games already look great. I will be honest, you know, whatever it was on base PS4 or all the way up to the PS5, they worked some magic with this one. So on PC to just have its super high resolution and super high frame rate is incredibly nice. Now visually from more of an art standpoint, you know nothing has really changed here. It looks similar, it is all technical. The lighting is a bit stronger, sometimes slightly different in spots, but it is barely noticeable. The textures are sharper, it is simple really. If you can run it, you can get yourself the best possible looking version of this game, with zero compromises on the technical standpoint. Also, I mean, now you can play it with a mouse and keyboard, and it feels better than you would expect. Like, I stuck mostly to a controller for this footage here, just of course I was used to it after playing through the game twice on console. But testing on sound mouse and keyboard makes like throwing the X a lot more accurate. It is still just as satisfying. You don't get the feedback as much, but you can really nail those shots. And like I mean not to you know, but you are getting a really good game here, man. Like if you have played it already, you are in for a fresh, like I said, slightly prettier, but drastically smoother experience. But if you have never played it at all, you got a whole of a game in front of you. In our end now years dashed and jumping in again here. It really is remarkable now it took such a big risk. Like it stripped away kind of what made God of War on the surface right. The hack and slicey beat him up at 20s, quite a style gameplay, with some platforming, some good boss battles and tons of raging blood, and craziness and orbs. And you get what here seems at first to just be like, oh boohoo, Kratos is set and old now type of thing. Slower and not as cool, but you know, play it for, I don't know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, not even. And you will see that they did a really great job taking the old God of War stuff and turning it into something new that actually does not really lose its identity. Like you got to look for it a little bit, and yes, it shifts a bit, but it is still a video game as video game with combat and violence and cool stuff. It also got a bit more heart in its story, and really focuses on telling in front and center. A simple story of a grieving father and a son who definitely are not the same page. You have got satisfying combat with good feedback and cool execution and kills, and the combat and movesets get more complex over time. You know, you are still doing God of War stuff, you are still juggling enemies, you are still doing cool combos, it just feels like an evolution in the old games, a more behind the back version. The weapons feel great, the abilities and special moves are fun to execute, the play is simple but satisfying. The bosses are kind of a bummer, so they were a little disappointing then and they still kind of are now. They are mostly repetitive battles featuring different trolls, but if you stay off main path you can find some other cool battles at least. But they will repeat itself a bit, and also some of the execution, the animation were a little bit repetitive then, and they still are now. But it is a minor thing in a game that is really well placed, and slowly opens itself up to giving you some freedom and exploration and side diversion, to not only just like have more fun, but grow your character out a little bit. I remember at the time being like, oh boy, what is this? You know, yeah, classic Kratos now has stats and level up and loot with different buffs, but it is really just enough. Like it is pretty well balanced and it fits in pretty well. Like you are not going on these complex treasure hunts, but the game and its environments do a really good job, or rewarding you just looking a little bit extra, and the stuff you get makes you want to look around a little bit extra. Scan the environment for some stuff to knock down to get some currency, or maybe find a quick little puzzle that will unlock a chest for you, that will give you new armor or a new rune for your weapon. It is nothing out of this world and it is nothing obnoxious. It is just like the perfect amount, and the same thing with like the hub area and a little bit of like open-ended travel. It does not become an open world game, it gives you just enough of an environment to feel like you have a little bit of downtime, to really explore and stroll around. And I keep using the word satisfying, but it is. And like the game with it is balancing, like every time it starts bringing you crazy gameplay moments with like the Gain Snake, or Valkyrias and Elves and a Dragon Ball Z style fight. It then brings that back down to earth with a great story that is actually really simple and sweet. The game is amazing because of the tightrope it walks between being absolutely huge at times and going for God of War and then being absolutely small, with actually being interesting and real feeling, and not just kind of like, oh boohoo, we are sad, just the point of it. Do you get what I'm trying to say here? I don't know, it is really fun to revisit, and especially just with now looking back, with seeing how they grappled with some of the stuff. With enlarging Kratos past, I think they do a great job with it. So again, like I said before, if you have never experienced this game before, now is the time, man. It is great that you can it on Steam, that's where I play it, there where this version is running. It has been an absolute blast jumping back into this, and so far with like pretty much no technical issues, which is nice. Of course, everybody's build, everybody's computer, everybody's situation is different, so that is gonna worry. But so far so good here. Cannot help but just be excited for people to play this for the first time and just jump in with all the added stuff that the game got with the photo mode, the graphics, everything. So that's really it. I'm gonna let the gameplay run for a little bit, but just wanna say thanks for coming back to Onslaught Games. We are very happy to have you for another year. We are gonna talk about a lot of games, show you a lot of gameplay. If you enjoyed this and maybe it helped you out, clicking the like buttons, all you gotta do, man. It really helps us out, we would appreciate that. But if you are new, subscribe and buckle up. Goodbye.